Hi everyone! Hope you memorized those multiplication facts because today we're going to be multiplying by a one-digit number. Over the past couple years, you've probably learned to multiply in a variety of different ways. But our learning goal now is to multiply a one-digit number using an algorithm. Before we go ahead and find the exact product when multiplying, we need to estimate to see if our product is reasonable. The easiest way to do that is to round one of the factors to the highest place value. I find this is easiest if you go ahead and underline that highest place value. I've done it here. In 179, the highest place value is the hundreds place. So I underlined it so I know that's the digit that I'm rounding. Then go ahead and draw yourself an arrow to the digit to the right. In this case, it's the 7. If you remember that old saying, 5 or more, raise the score, 4 or less, let it rest. Because the 7 is more than 5, we're going to raise the score of our underlined digit by 1. Our 1 now becomes a 2. Because we're rounding, every digit that was behind it, in this case there's 2 of them, turns into a 0. So 179 rounds to 200. Our second factor of 6 is going to stay the same for our estimate. Now, using basic facts, I can multiply 2 times 6, which is 12, and bring over my 2 zeros for an estimate of 1,200. This tells me when I actually find the product of 179 times 6, my product should be around 1,200. Now that I have an estimate, I can use my algorithm with place value and regrouping to multiply. Step 1, start with the ones place. 6 times 9 is 54. So I'm going to write my 4 and regroup the 5. Now I multiply the tens place. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 5 is 47. So I write my 7 and regroup the 4. Now it's time to multiply the hundreds place. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. My actual product is 1,074. That lets us know that we're pretty close to our estimate, which was 1,200, so our answer is reasonable. Here's another example. We have 7 times 472. First, we need to estimate. We're going to leave our factor that's a single digit alone, so the 7 is simply going to remain a 7. Here it is right here. Now 472, we're going to round in order to estimate. Remember before I told you to round to the highest place value. So I'm going to underline the 4 and draw an arrow over to the 7. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. Because the 7 here is 5 or more, we're going to raise the score of our underlined digit by 1. That 4 is now going to turn into a 5. And all the digits behind it, which in this case there's 1, 2 digits behind it, is going to turn into a 0. Now I can estimate 7 times 500. Using your basic facts, 7 times 5 is 35. And there's 2 zeros we're going to bring over into our product. So our estimate is 3,500. When we actually multiply 7 times 472, our product should be reasonably close to 3,500. Now let's find the actual product. Step 1 is here. Multiply the ones. 7 times 2 is 14. So I write a 4, carry my 1. That's been done over here for me. Now I multiply the tens. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 1 is 50. Write my 0, regroup that 5. That's been done over here. Then I multiply the hundreds place. 7 times 4 is 28. Add that 5, which is 33. And my final product is 3,304. That's reasonable because it's close to my estimate of 3,500. Notice when I first saw the problem, it was 7 times 472. And when it was time to actually multiply, I wrote 472 times 7. Can you remember what property allows us to switch the order of the two factors and it won't change the final product? Think. If you thought it was the commutative property of multiplication, you are absolutely right. Nice job. Okay, now it's time for you to try one. In just a second, I want you to pause the video, and in your notes, I want you to estimate 537 times 6, showing all your work, of course. And then I want you to use place value and regrouping with the algorithm to find the exact product. When you're finished, resume the video and see how you did. Go ahead and pause now. All right, let's see how you did with the estimate. You should have underlined the highest place value, which is the 5 in the hundreds place, and drawn an arrow to the right to the 3. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. Because the 3 is 4 or less, our 5 rests, and it remains the same. It's a 5. The 2 digits behind it should have turned into zeros, and our second factor of 6 should have remained the same. Then using basic facts, 5 times 6 is 30. Bring over those 2 zeros. Your estimate should be 3,000. Now, finding the exact product with place value and regrouping. Start with the ones place. 6 times 7 is 42. So I'm going to write my 2 and regroup those 4 tens. 6 times 3 is 18 when I multiply the tens place, plus another 4 is 22. So I'm going to write my 2 and regroup the other 2 over the hundreds place. Now multiply that hundreds place. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 2 is 32. So our exact answer is 3,222. How'd you do? Let's connect this to something we would do in the real world. The Sandpine Elementary School kickball team is sending 9 of its members to the state championship in Atlanta, Georgia. The cost will be $287 per person. How much will it cost for all 9 members to attend? Well, before we find the exact cost, we should find a reasonable estimate to see around how much it would cost. Let's begin by underlining some key details in our problem. First, they're asking us to solve how much it will cost for all 9 members to attend. Well, we know that 9 of its members are going to the championship, and we know it costs $287 per member. This is going to be important when we're solving our problem. Let's start with the estimate portion. We know it's $287 per person, and we have 9 people going. If we want to estimate, we're going to underline that highest place value and draw an arrow to the right. I keep saying it, I hope it's sticking in your mind. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. Because the 8 is 5 or more, we're going to raise the score by 1 of our underlined digit. That 2 turns into a 3, and the 1, 2 places behind it turn into zeros. Our single digit remains the same, a 9. Use those basic facts. 3 times 9 is 27. Bring those 2 zeros over. It's going to cost about $2,700 $700 to send those Sandpine kids to Atlanta, Georgia. We have an estimate. Now let's use our algorithm to find the exact cost. 287 times 9. Start with the ones. 9 times 7 is 63. So I'm going to write my 3, regroup the 6. Now multiply the tens. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 6 is 78. So write the 8, regroup the 7. Now multiply the hundreds. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 7 is 25. The exact cost for those Sandpine students to go to the kickball championship is $2,583. Now I know I forgot to put a pencil on this page, but go ahead and write down the estimate and exact cost into your notes. Don't just write the answer. Make sure you wrote everything that I wrote on this page so you have a good example to refer back to. Okay, now it's time to summarize with our LOL. First, in your notes, show how to solve the problem 378 times 6 using place value with regrouping. So you're actually going to multiply this out and do the math portion. Then, in words, you're going to explain how you knew how to regroup. Use that math vocabulary and complete sentences in your response. Think about the different things I've been saying throughout this lesson to help you. Good luck.